We have to do all.
I think
It's a tradition.
It's a tradition. Perfect. Now it's just more complicated to cut it. We are back again to talk after our 30-minute video of talking about tables. We now have a chance to continue talking about the charts in Data Studio. I'm back here, Ricardo, with Thomas and Alex. Hi, guys.
Hi. Hello.
I think after the time that we spent for tables and bar charts and time series, I think we can go through them and see how much time it takes for each of them to go.
You'll be quick.
Yeah,
really quick.
I don't think so. We can start then first with the scorecards. No, I think scorecards are, or KPI boxes, however you want to call them. I think it's a cool element to anchor a dashboard. So even though you're using specific charts or specific elements, always having a set of the main metrics that someone is looking for, always at the top of the dashboard, and it gives some consistency. It gives something that is easy to use. But I think as with all of the elements we're quite picky about how we set them up. What will be your first recommendation of how to use these scorecards?
I think for simple KPIs, the scorecards are perfect, right? If you want to show like run rate, revenue overall, like things like that, there the scorecards are perfect. Like
especially
where you really want to like focus on a single KPI.
Especially in overview pages. So mostly we create the first page in the report is the overview page, and there we use then, as Ricardo said, the top 4, 5, whatever KPIs with scorecard that you can quickly see your revenue of the time of the date range you selected, or whatever your stock and so on. So this always, I think.
Yeah, I think when people say scorecards, maybe it doesn't convey exactly what I think of about it. When I say KPI, then it's like the K is key, no? And then sometimes you see a dashboard that has 12 of them, or them. It's not key. Like if you have 12 metrics, they're not your key metrics.
I think if you only use one dashboard and putting like 12 KPIs on it, like
maybe
just 12 scorecards, it's also a little bit distracting, I would say.
Yeah.
So use that more for like really like highlighting what you would like to show. What we hear super often, I think last week again, we talked with one of the clients, and they also said, we need to focus on something. Yeah. So if you put too much stuff on your dashboard, or if you put like too much like very detailed information, like a table with a lot of like KPIs and measures on your overview page, then like information is getting lost a little bit, or the viewer or the analytical person is getting lost. That's why focus on what's important to you, most importantly on an overview page.
I also like this drill down thing, what we also discussed, so that you say, okay, I have an overview page, I get the most important information, and then every analytic person can decide if they want to go deeper into the topic or not. And so then they can decide, okay, I go to a more detailed page, and then you have more information on it, more scorecards, more charts, more tables, whatever. And then you can also go back, maybe a third drill down, whatever. Everything.
Data analytics is at the end like a website, right? I mean, you need to create this certain flow that someone is going to a so-called landing page, I would say. And from there, it needs to be natural to go somewhere else. So it doesn't make sense to have another URL and to say, hey, if you would like to see something about product, go there. If you would like to have an overview page, go there. If you do want to know something about marketing, go somewhere else. I think it needs to be natural that you have kind of a landing page that you say, hey, here are my biggest, most important KPIs for having a good overview, for steering the company, for knowing exactly what happened basically the last days, weeks, hours, depending on your update policy. And then basically go natural inside key elements and also detailed analytics with links. And keep in mind that you also have to go back. I think it's worth an extra topic, definitely, but it's a very good moment to also mention that, because I think everything starts with scorecards, right? Because that basically represents or shows your most important KPIs.
Yeah, it's easy to use also. I'm not sure how do we style the stuff. mostly we centralize for sure the scorecards. Do we use a background shape behind? I don't think
It
so.
depends.
so.
I think it depends on how long the titles are.
Yeah. Okay.
And then
Of the
that
metric.
depends. I don't think we have a strict rule there of what to approach.
Normally we use the box of the scorecard itself.
Mhm.
Why? Because the box or the size of the scorecard box does not tell you or does not define how big the numbers inside is. So this is completely isolated from each other. That means you can basically
Create the
define
box
the
and
size
shift
of
it
the
around.
box, and then you say, okay, how big is my key element inside the scorecard?
Right.
And this is also one of the big shortcomings from Data Studio, that you can basically say, okay, my number, like my KPI, is had a size of 36 pixels or 48, or I don't know. Everything else in the scorecard is basically based on that size. That means if you have something we did not mention, but if you basically have how to say that, comparison number activated, that you basically have a different time range where you then see, okay, plus 3%, minus 3%, that you basically compare to another time range, then this size is depending on the main size of the scorecard or of the KPI inside. The same happens with the title at the end, which is on top of the KPI. Also the color of the name of the scorecard you cannot change, I think, right? It's always a slight gray or gray tone.
Yeah.
You mean the font of the title, or what do you mean?
Not the font, the color of the title.
Yeah, but for that we do. I think I think it's hard to put a specific rule that should be followed always.
Exactly.
But like as a best practice, of course, having consistency across all of them, and knowing that you have the flexibility. You have the flexibility to decide, okay, I'm gonna not show the title, and I'm gonna add a text box. I think we do that quite often, depending on a case by case. Just
50-50,
yeah. Just generally knowing also that, keeping in mind that yes, a comparison to a previous period or a previous year is good to know. What I always recommend is to show, like, put a text box of what is being compared there. I think it's very useful, because if a person is using multiple dashboards and for some of them they're comparing to the previous year, and with some of them is comparing to the previous period, can be a bit distracting, and it takes no time to put PY.
And how do you show it then? Do you show the comparison right below the year number? And
exactly, like so with Data Studio, you activate this comparison to whatever, and then right next to this comparison, I add a text box showing PY. Especially when it's an overview of multiple areas of a certain business that maybe people are coming that, I don't know, for marketing, they usually see exactly compared to the previous month, but maybe more on the operational side, they're used to seeing compared to the previous year. And when it's together, it's nice to show, even if it's all of it says PY. You're talking about something that is going to be, a lot of people are going to be looking at it. It's just nice. It makes it easier to the people follow.
The problem with PY, so with previous year, is then you should not make the scorecard based on your time filter, right? Because then previous year is always like, it's not depending on the time range you set, or not. I mean, if you for example have a scorecard and it's like beginning of the year till now, and you compare it to the previous year, it makes total sense. But if you say previous year and you select 3 months of 3 years ago, just as a very like rough example, what happens then, right? It will compare the time frame you selected to the previous year.
Yeah, but
that's the case, right?
Yeah,
but
I
then
think
it doesn't make sense. So you need to make it needs to be very clear then that basically the time frame, your comparison time frame, is then really the previous year, because it can be like seen completely in the wrong way. Yeah, so this is always like my thinking when I do this comparison time frame. If I set it fixed to the previous year and the scorecard itself is connected to a time filter, then you need to be super careful that someone who's like analyzing the dashboard doesn't take like completely wrong like results out of that. Yeah. So what we usually do is, like, if we do comparison numbers, that we connect it to the same time period as the scorecard is selected itself. So if we say scorecard is last 3 months, then it will be the 3 months before. If we say it's today, then it will be compared to yesterday, and so on and so on and so on. I think you could do it way smarter, that you say, okay, always go to the same day 1 week before. I think that's not possible at the moment. That would be some really good like improvement to this comparison time. Because if I see the number for today in e-commerce, it doesn't make sense to compare to yesterday.
Added to the list of missing features already.
Very good.
There's already.
We will talk about that again.
There's already one date range comparison thing which I want to have, but yeah, we can talk about that. Yeah, what else? So what we also never show, I think, is this 3 dots at the top of Scorecards, because when you are exported to a CSV,
yeah, probably a lot of people who are exporting that.
One number.
One number. But yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah. And what I also sometimes mention, especially when you have a lot of scorecards at the top. So for example, you have 4 spent scorecards, Facebook, Google Ads, YouTube, whatever. And then you have a new one. It's quickly to also add it to the other ones, because you select just all of them.
Yeah.
So put it in a line, select all of them, and then just drag it as the size you want, and then everything gets aligned.
That would be a very good argument against having a separate
background shape.
Background shape, or also text box, because then it's not that easy. Because then it has a different size. Then it's not so easy. But yeah, if you use basically only the shape with the scorecard itself, then you can really click on all of them, mass select, I would say, and then you can change basically everything inside the scorecard, not even the size, but also like alignment, size, color, whatever you like to do. Rounded corners, not rounded corners.
Yeah.
Side joke.
Yeah. But I think that's good to know. But I think in general for alignment and stuff, I always go, for me it's easier to have the alignment set before. Like I never change size of elements by selecting all of them together, because then the whole approach that we have of having everything, the smallest size that we use is 1 square of the grid. When you select multiple, then that changes, and then it quickly, I mean, it aligns well if it's just one change that you're going to do, but that's never the case.
But not if you only have the scorecard. If you only have the scorecard and you select all of them,
no, it changes, because when you make it bigger, it doesn't go bigger by 1 square. It goes bigger by 1 fraction of a square, depending on all the elements.
I will check that.
Yeah, no, that's
If you're right,
Alex,
cut it out.
Alex
Otherwise,
here.
Keep
Yes. Anyway, so and more additional best practices to do of what to include in the scorecards. The only thing that I would put is to consider a bit of information density. I think I always go back to that. It's nice to put the value and the comparison to the previous period, previous year. But then it's often nice when we do that to put a like small time series in there. There's also a sparkline feature to go. And for some dashboard we have there included, is only to show to have a snapshot quite quickly of like, yeah, this value is going like straight to the top, or is like fluctuating naturally. It gets additional way, and it just takes no time. And I think now, before we needed to make a time series without axis just to have it. Sometimes we put the axis, but now it's even this sparkline feature, which is exactly that, just the line showing the variation.
Which is really cool. I mean, you need to check with your audience basically, with the people who are like looking inside the dashboard. But what I really like is that like sparkline without any axis, just a line. But when you use that, you need to make very much sure that you basically tell the viewer of the dashboard what the sparkline is about. So if you have a header which says sales last 7 days, you don't need access, I would say, right? If you have a current number, let's say we have for today 100 orders, and then you have the sparkline, you don't need to know exactly how many orders, which day, and even if you could hover over it and see the number, right? But if you leave out the axis, first of all, the design looks way better, but second of all, it's also less disturbing. It becomes way more natural. I really like that approach, but sometimes we are also getting the feedback that we would like to have access. And then,
but that's okay.
And it's okay, then do it, right? Because like the people who are analyzing that are most important at the end.
Anything else about scorecards, Alex?
Maybe I think we use.
Of course.
I think we use 90% of the time we use compact numbers in scorecards. I think.
Good point.
Because so when you're getting an overview, you don't want to get every position of the revenue of the last 30 days. So just a rough number, depends for sure on your revenue and so on. But yeah, I think especially in scorecards, compact numbers makes a lot of sense.
Especially when basically the scorecards are based on your time range.
Yeah.
So if you have a very big organization who makes $1 million or $1 billion of revenue, and then you select the whole year, then you should have compact numbers. Otherwise, maybe also your number is floating out of. What happens then? If the number's getting too big, does it get resized automatically?
No, then it's out of the box.
Really?
Yeah.
Which
List
is
for shortcomings.
yeah.
Something else?
No, I don't think so.
It's not as long as the table version, but
Okay,
I think
it's
that's
just
it.
scorecards.
just for
But maybe we can continue then and add to it. I think for these charts, I don't have that much maybe to talk about, which is pie charts.
Mm-hmm.
I think
next topic.
pie charts exist. No, I think they exist and they're nice to use. I use them more as a filtering option. So activating cross-table filtering, and then you have something that the person, instead of, yes, you have the filter on the side that is always, but you can then click through it and use it as navigation way to use. And if you have more than 3 elements, the pie chart stops making a lot of sense, I would say. I think, I mean, Data Studio has some limitations around pie charts, and I actually think it's good because it stops people from wanting more. Like there's not like 3D fragmented pie charts like in Excel, which is good because then people don't ask for it.
Community visualization maybe
Can have, but it's not in that direction. And I actually I like that it's now offering, I think it started as a community visualization and now it's a given, is the, I think it's Treemap is called. So the concept around is the same. It's like instead of it's also a distribution of a shape, but instead of being a circle, it's a rectangle. And then you can see something that is more.
This is cool, yeah.
Yeah, because I think a pie chart, segments that are less than 25% is very hard to detect. I think grasping is difficult, but when you see like everything is like a square, it's easier to compare different shapes and see.
I would say you still have no idea how many percent that is. So you definitely need to
but you can add the number
activate
and it looks
the labels, which is another reason at PyCharms to not go beyond free values or free like fragments. Because if you have basically new customers versus returning customers, that's a very good like way to use pie charts, I would say. Because you have your new customers, you have returning customers, you put the labels inside, you know exactly, okay, that's 13%, that's maybe 87, and then it's working good. But if you have, for example, classical e-commerce marketing, your channels you're using, and then you have a small part for affiliate and a small part or a little bigger part for organic, Facebook ads, retargeting, YouTube, there it goes. Then you come quite easy to 10 plus elements, and then PyCharm
is also good.
PyCharm is good. PyCharts is not a good solution, I would say.
And when do you use Doughnut Charts? So the things with the hole inside the pie charts? Because what I freaks me out always, especially with
freaks me out.
Hold my breath.
Is that when you put also the values inside of the metric you defined there, then you have, then it's mostly the time that it's not part of the pie chart or of the color, because then it's already outside or inside the white hole, and that's always a little bit not so good.
Problem.
I think it's just, I'm sure there are people that are very opinionated about how to this type of decisions. I think we've been audience in some talks about that, and we always say like whatever makes the person who's using the dashboard happier, you have the flexibility there to do.
I always say
generally.
no to pie charts.
Yes, to pie charts, but when it's like person like discussing between pie chart and a donut chart, and someone is asking for the donut, just go for the donut. It's okay. And the only thing that we say, and we're strict, I think it's more about like guidelines within the shape, not in the best practice. For example, if you're gonna use a pie chart, yes, but use the filter. I think we talked about another video of saying like, okay, instead of showing all the 20 metrics as specific segments, just show 3 and show the other one as others. And then that's way more easy to read. And it's actually what people want to know, no one is focusing on that.
When we talk about Doughnut Charts, I think a a good way to use that is if you would like to put a main KPI in the middle.
Yeah,
right?
that's I think I did it one
exactly-
time.
Yeah?
But that's really cool. Yeah.
Exactly the reason when I use that.
Mhm,
So
yeah.
that basically means when we ja.
Ich muss einmal kurz euch stoppen,
Ja.
weil es sind über die 20 Minuten.
So I use Doughnut Charts mostly when it comes to showing KPIs in the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
That-
I did it one time. I did it, for example, we had one customer for newspaper, and then we showed, for example, different kinds of articles, and then we showed in the middle how much articles are getting released in this time range and so on. So
Okay.
that makes total sense.
And then you can show basically the distribution or the share. What also makes sense if we talk about new customers versus returning customers, show basically the pie chart or the donut chart for new versus returning, but put the new customer share in the middle, right?
Mhm.
I mean, at the end, it's the same information you have in the donut chart or the pie chart, but you can grab it way easier while still having that visual element between like the share. Yeah,
Mhm.
also sometimes makes sense.
Yeah, but
Underrated or overrated?
I think pie charts now are underrated, I would say.
Really?
Yeah. I think they
Tough
used to
answer.
they used to be overrated, but now that people make so much fun of them and they don't want to include them, and I think it's nice if you use them as filters.
Yeah, this filter thing I not use so much, it's cross filtering. But yeah, pie charts I think makes sense, especially if you have just 3-4 values.
Yeah.
What else?
I think we can continue with the other type of charts on the next video.
Next episode. Yeah.
But thanks everybody for watching. As always, I think Alex can give the
Yeah,
wrap up
sure.
of
I have
where to
to-
check.
I have to say, for sure, check out our Medium blog post, check and subscribe to our channel. Yeah, so Medium, we are still ongoing. For example, latest updates for Data Studio, BigQuery, Google Analytics, GTM, and so on. And we're also already thinking about new blog posts from new employees and so on. So
Yeah.
let's see.
We
Yeah.
have 4 new employees. They need to write blog posts now.
Mhm.
So yeah, new things are coming up.
Yeah.
We also are, as you probably saw, in a new location. Pretty proud of that.
We have a new office.
We have a new office. No. And work together with a new partner, which is Hub 633. They are filming the stuff, helping us producing good content, even more professional. So I hope you like it and stay tuned for the next video. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.